Welcome to DSP Sports Playoff Picks Edition with David Beard and Don Stevens.
All right, well, let's start with the NFC. We have New Orleans Saints versus the Super Seattle Seahawks.
The worst playoff team in NFL history.
In NFL history. Now, let me tell you my thought process going into the game that they had with the Rams, that one-game playoff thing that they had, the regular season playoff game. I thought to myself, looking at the statistics going into it, oh crap, the Rams are in trouble. And this is the reason why I said, oh crap, the Rams are in trouble. Because whenever I buy a ticket to a ball game, I always look at the standings and look at the win-loss streak. And if a team has 3 or 4 losses going into that game that's playing the team I want to win, I get worried because the philosophy is the team's eventually going to win. Oh crap, will it be this week?
And it was.
And it was. So I'm not going into this game with that. The Seahawks got their win. They're going to get devastated.
Well, I should have thought better. The Rams only had 2 wins on the road all year, but I really thought being at the Dome and the Rams beat them bad the first time, I really thought the Rams were going to win that game. But the Rams are just, they're just a young team, and they couldn't handle the pressure on the road, and they kind of embarrassed themselves in primetime.
So, New Orleans versus the Seattle.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Seattle. Just kidding. This is a no-brainer for me. I'm going with New Orleans.
So, we're both going with New Orleans.
I don't think there's anybody in the world going with Seattle. I don't even think Coach Carroll of the Seahawks will go with Seattle in this game.
If you had $20, would you? And you were in Vegas, would you put it on Seattle? $20?
No. Even if you got $1 million back, I wouldn't.
Just throw away $20 on the chance that they'll just win this one game.
I would not.
Okay.
It's just giving money away.
All right, Green Bay versus Philly, the Eagles.
Okay, this for me was actually pretty easy, but I'm actually going with the upset and taking Green Bay.
Really?
Yeah.
I like watching Green Bay. I like Aaron Rodgers, even though for some reason, I don't know why he's got 2 A's at the beginning of his name, as if one won't do the job.
I never thought about that.
Yeah, but and I like them, and I like watching them, but I've become a Michael Vick fan.
Yeah, I mean, Michael Vick turned around his career. Still not a.
I mean, not a personal fan of his. I'm going to go for Philly. That's my pick. I want to see them tear Green Bay up, like I've seen them tear a couple other teams up this season.
So you're looking for a big Philly-Chicago matchup then?
Indeed.
Interesting.
All right, so that would put Philly versus Chicago in my bracket then, right?
Yes.
And then it would put Atlanta versus New Orleans.
Yep, at the Georgia Dome, which is a rematch of Monday Night Football a couple weeks ago. And you got Philly at Chicago.
And I think that Philly can beat Chicago at Chicago. But now let's go to New Orleans versus, for you, Chicago.
I have New Orleans.
And why?
I just think Chicago. I just don't think Chicago has enough. I think Mike Martz will eventually get Jay Cutler killed, and it may be in this game because the way New Orleans blitzes like crazy, they pretty much almost killed Brett Favre last year, and they pretty much retired Kurt Warner. So Mike Martz isn't the kind of guy that likes to keep his quarterbacks healthy. Just check out Kurt Warner and Mark Bulger. So. I'm not sold on Mike Martz and probably never will be because but he's been doing a decent job with Chicago. But I just think Chicago's going to be overmatched when it comes to playing the Saints. So as of right now, Don, you have the Philadelphia Eagles in the NFC Championship game. Let's go to the other bracket there. So you got in the other bracket you have New Orleans at Atlanta, rematch of Monday Night Football a couple weeks ago.
That's right, and you have New Orleans.
Green Bay at Atlanta, rematch of game. Like 12 or 13. So I actually have Atlanta winning that game, Don.
You have Atlanta winning that game?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I can see why. Green Bay hasn't lived up to their expectations this season. But I don't know enough about Atlanta to tell you one way or another. I saw a quarter of one ball game that they were in this year.
Okay.
So I got to go with you on that one. Certainly not going to argue. Now I picked New Orleans and Atlanta. The Saints.
I got you. So you have in your NFC Championship game, it'll be Philadelphia hosting the Saints. And I have, since I will be picking New Orleans over Chicago. I will be having New Orleans at Atlanta. Okay, who do you think is going to the Super Bowl with New Orleans at Philadelphia?
Oh, I want to say Philadelphia. I really do, because I'm not a big New Orleans fan. I don't much care for the Saints. I don't care if you think that makes me on Katrina's side or not. But I want to pick Philly, but I'm not going to. I really do think the Saints are going to end up winning that game.
Okay. And my pick would be I have New Orleans at Atlanta. I've gone back and forth on this 3 times, Don. I am going to pick Atlanta in the Super Bowl, to go to the Super Bowl.
You're picking Atlanta to go to the Super Bowl.
Yes. So Don has New Orleans,
Yep.
and I have Atlanta. So we're picked the same conference, just different teams.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. And I'm quite frankly surprised, but then again, you know more about Atlanta than I do.
Well, now we have. Should we even do your AFC picks, or are we just automatically going to give it to the Patriots, Don?
There's okay. Look, here. Look, David. Let me tell you this right now. There are other teams playing in that conference to get to that game,
Okay,
whatever game they're in. So we have to do that.
Okay. All right. Well, let's start it off with the first game, which is going to be New York Jets at the Indianapolis Colts, a rematch of last year's AFC Championship game, where the Colts beat the Jets. What are you thinking, Don?
Oh wow! Keeping in mind what Peyton Manning has gone through all season long, and that team and their highs and lows, the Colts are on the upswing, and I think they're going to defeat New York.
Yeah, and I agree with you. They seem to be really hot. The Colts seem to have the Jets' number when they're playing them at home. I don't think the Colts are as good as they've been in a long time, but I do believe they will win this game as well, Don.
Yeah, I just think I hate to be on Facebook. Someone, a friend of mine from Massachusetts, made a comment about how Bob Costas was in the jockstrap of Peyton Manning during the halftime of the Rams Seahawks games, and maybe he was, but I've got to say that I think Peyton Manning and the Colts are going to come through. So if that puts me in this jockstrap, then so be it.
Understood. The other game this weekend is Baltimore Ravens, the 5 seed, at the number 4 seed, the cross-state rivals of my Rams, the Kansas City Chiefs. So we have Baltimore at Kansas City.
I'm going to go with Baltimore based on their record. Now they're a wild card team, sure, but I'm gonna go with them.
I'm pretty confident. Baltimore is, I believe, a much better team all the way around. And I think Kansas City are still a few years away. They had a last place schedule, I believe, Don, so they haven't played very many good teams this year. So I do believe that Baltimore will take that game.
Well, there we go. We're in agreement on that.
Yeah, so we're looking at Indianapolis at Pittsburgh and Baltimore at New England. So we're on the same page so far.
So far.
Okay. So you want to start it off with the Indy at Pittsburgh?
Why not? Now, we're looking at the Steelers here, and we're looking at the Colts. I hate to bring politics into this, so I won't directly bring politics into this, but listening to Rush Limbaugh as much as I did for so many years, I kind of became a Steelers fan.
Hey, well, that's interesting.
Playing Peyton Manning, and I've been in his jockstrap for too long. I am picking the Steelers.
Whoa, good pick. I think Indy last year could have maybe won this game if it was in Pittsburgh last year, a couple years ago. This year, I just don't believe Indy has the talent to go into Pittsburgh in January in the cold air and beat the Steelers at home. I just don't think it's going to happen. It's going to be a good game, I'm sure, because Peyton Manning is Peyton Manning. But I'm with you. I actually have the Pittsburgh Steelers going to the AFC Championship game, and so do you, Don.
And here we go. Baltimore versus New England. I have to run some figures on this one and figure out exactly who I want to win based on who the best team in football was this season with the best record. And once I figure out all the math involved, I'll give you my pick.
Okay.
New England.
Okay. And here's where we differ for the first time. I will go with the Baltimore Ravens with that strong defense to upset the Patriots.
All right. That's really no surprise. You would have gone with Baltimore to upset New England based on a pastry. You just hate that team so much.
I thought if Baltimore, I honestly thought if Baltimore or Pittsburgh had a chance at New England early on, that those were the only two teams that could beat them. So I because of their defenses. So if the Patriots get past Baltimore, I don't believe that they will beat Pittsburgh. I just don't see it. But anyways, I have Baltimore. So you have Pittsburgh at New England, and I have Baltimore at Pittsburgh. So I will jump in and go first on this one, Don.
Go ahead.
Let's see. I have the Baltimore Ravens upsetting the Pittsburgh Steelers at home and going to the Super Bowl to face the Atlanta Falcons.
Wow. So you have, did you say you have Baltimore?
Yes.
Facing the Falcons?
Yes.
Wow. Well, I'm not going to shock you here. I'm going to tell you I have New England facing the Saints.
So you have New England holding court and going to the Super Bowl to face the Super Bowl champions. So basically you have a really good matchup there. You have New Orleans Saints, Super Bowl champions, and the New England Patriots, who've won 3 of the last 10, 11 Super Bowls.
Yes.
That's a very good matchup. I think it's a very strong matchup, and that's good, Don.
I'm doing it not just based on fandom either. There are numbers behind what I've picked. Fortunately, they just line up with my fandom.
And I believe you. I mean, New England's a lock, the best team in football. I just don't think they're going to do it. But look, if the Rams made the Super Bowl, if the Rams made the playoffs this year, I would have picked New Orleans over them as well. So I'm with you on not picking your fanhood.
Now we've got it here to where we've got New England for me, New England versus the Saints on this here, and I think that it would be great to see New England dethrone the Saints and take their rightful place at the top. That would bring much joy to my heart.
Okay.
I don't know if you noticed, but back on Facebook I posted a picture of a snowman with a Patriots hat on.
I did not.
And the caption on that was, "My apologies to David Beard."
Oh, I have to look it up. I'm taking the Atlanta Falcons to win the Super Bowl over the Baltimore Ravens.
The Atlanta Falcons.
It'll be their first Lombardi trophy.
Don, New England. Dave, Atlanta.
What's funny? People who are going to look at these picks are going to say, okay, so Don is the sports guy for sure.
Well, how's that? Why do you think they say that?
Because you picked the two teams that a lot of people have picked, a lot of the experts. So I picked a lot of upsets.
Okay, well then we'll see what happens. Ladies and gentlemen, this is DSP Sports. Tune in next week to find out which one of us was right, which one of us was wrong, and how we're going to have to alter our picks so that we can sound relevant for the rest of the season.
All right.
This is DSP Sports.